You don't remember the Royal Rumble the way Shawn Michaels does, and that should make you angry. Because while fans argue online about best Rumble moments, most eliminations, and who deserved what spot, the man who bled, collapsed, won, lost, crawled, and redefined the match remembers it very differently. And once you really hear those memories, you'll realize most people have been celebrating the wrong things for decades. Be honest in the comments right now. Do you think Shawn Michaels is overrated in Royal Rumble history, yes or no? Don't overthink it, just answer. We'll come back to that. Shawn Michaels doesn't remember the Royal Rumble as a highlight reel. He remembers it as survival. While fans remember pyro, countdown clocks, and surprise entrances, Michaels remembers pain, timing, fear, and pressure that could bury a career or resurrect one in 60 chaotic minutes. He remembers standing backstage, hearing the crowd roar for someone else, and knowing that in a few seconds, he'd have to convince thousands of people that this moment belonged to him. And here's the part nobody likes to admit: the Royal Rumble nearly broke Shawn Michaels as often as it made him. Let's start where most fans think the story ends: 1995. The Iron Man Rumble. The win from number 1, the legend. But Shawn Michaels doesn't talk about 1995 like it was destiny. He talks about it like it was a gamble. Entering at number 1 wasn't heroic, it was terrifying. He knew the rules. He knew the math. He knew the clock wouldn't stop. And he knew that one mistimed step, one lazy punch, one wrong landing over the top rope would turn him into just another stat. No music, no glory, just another guy who almost went the distance. Here's a quick one for the comments: would you rather enter at number 1 or number 30 if you had to win? No loopholes. Pick one. Michaels has said that the early minutes of that match were worse than the final stretch. Because early on, the crowd isn't on your side yet. They're waiting, watching, judging. And if you don't hook them fast, they turn on you. And when a crowd turns on you in the Rumble, you feel every second of it. By the time the clock kept counting down, his body was already betraying him. Fatigue wasn't theoretical, it was real. Every slam took more out of him than the last. And the worst part? You're not allowed to show it. If you look tired, you look beatable. That's the part fans forget. The Royal Rumble doesn't reward honesty. It punishes it. And Shawn Michaels learned that lesson early. Go back even further: 1989. The first Royal Rumble he ever competed in. He wasn't the Heartbreak Kid yet. Not really. He was talented, flashy, but still replaceable in the company's eyes. That Rumble wasn't about winning. It was about proving he belonged in the conversation at all. And that pressure? It sticks with you. Michaels has talked about how the Rumble is the only match where you're never allowed to relax. In a singles match, there's rhythm. In a tag match, there's strategy. In the Rumble, chaos is guaranteed. You're constantly listening for the countdown, constantly checking your footing, constantly aware of hands reaching for you from every direction. Quick comment check: do you think the Royal Rumble is more about luck or skill? One word answer. Here's where things get uncomfortable for fans. Shawn Michaels doesn't believe most Rumble records actually matter. Most eliminations? Depends who you're in there with. Longest time? Depends on pacing and booking. Surprise winner? Depends on shock value, not storytelling. What does matter, according to Michaels, is what the Rumble does to your career afterward. And that's where 1996 changes everything. Because in 1996, Michaels didn't just win the Royal Rumble. He won it from underneath. Coming in at number 18, he didn't have the early match cushion of adrenaline or the late match advantage of freshness. He had to thread the needle, stay relevant without peaking too early, survive without disappearing. And this is where Shawn Michaels was operating on a level most fans never notice. He wasn't just wrestling opponents. He was wrestling the clock. Every minute had to feel earned. Every near elimination had to feel believable. And when he finally eliminated Diesel, that wasn't just storyline. That was personal history colliding with timing, psychology, and payoff. Pause for a second and answer this honestly: is 1996 a better Rumble win than 1995? Why or why not? Here's the angering truth. If Shawn Michaels had failed in 1996, his WrestleMania moment might have evaporated. No Iron Man match. No crowning moment. No validation. The Royal Rumble didn't just reward him, it tested him. And then came the fall, injury, burnout, absence. When Michaels returned in 2002, fans wanted nostalgia. What they got instead was reinvention. And his Royal Rumble memories from this era? Completely different tone. He's admitted that entering the Rumble post-comeback was more frightening than before his injury. Not because of the competition but because of doubt. Would his body hold up? Would the crowd still care? Would he still belong in the same ring with younger, faster stars? Think about this and comment: is a comeback harder than a debut? In 2003, when Michaels faced off with Chris Jericho, the Rumble wasn't about winning at all. It was about stealing moments, glances, exchanges, teases of a future that fans didn't even realize they were watching get built. Shawn Michaels understood something by then that most never do. You don't have to win the Royal Rumble to own it. And that brings us to 2010, The Undertaker, the final two. The silence before the explosion. Michaels has said that moment felt like standing at the edge of a cliff. He knew what it meant. He knew what the audience wanted. And he knew that losing didn't mean failure, it meant sacrifice. This is where fans usually romanticize things. But Michaels doesn't. He remembers the exhaustion, the cold, the strain on his knees, the realization that time was catching up faster than he wanted to admit. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. Should veterans stop winning the Rumble to make room for new stars, yes or no? Shawn Michaels doesn't hate the Royal Rumble, but he doesn't worship it either. He respects it, because the Rumble exposes you. It shows who understands pacing, who understands crowd psychology, who understands patience, and most importantly who understands when to let go. One of Michaels' most honest admissions is that the Rumble taught him humility. Early in his career he believed greatness meant domination. Later he learned greatness sometimes meant losing at the right time. That's a lesson a lot of fans still haven't learned. Because every year, the same arguments explode online. This guy was buried. That guy deserved it more. This one was wasted. But Shawn Michaels would tell you this. The Royal Rumble isn't about fairness. It's about impact. Quick poll in the comments: which matters more, who wins, or how the match is remembered? Look at Michaels' Rumble legacy as a whole and something becomes clear. He wasn't defined by a single victory. He was defined by consistency under chaos. From 1989 to 2010, through eras, styles, locker rooms, and expectations, he adapted. He evolved. He survived. And here's the part that should genuinely annoy you. A lot of wrestlers participated in the Royal Rumble. Shawn Michaels understood it. He understood when to speed up, when to slow down, when to tease elimination, when to disappear into the corner and let others shine. That's not accidental. That's mastery. So when people casually say, yeah, Shawn Michaels was good in the Rumble, they're underselling a career-long chess match played in a ring full of chaos. Last question, and this one matters. Is Shawn Michaels the greatest Royal Rumble performer of all time? Say yes. Say no. Argue it out. Because whether you like him or not, his Royal Rumble memories aren't just nostalgia, they're a blueprint. And once you see the match through his eyes, you can't unsee how many others got it wrong. And that should bother you just enough to keep talking about it long after this video ends. And if that realization doesn't sit right with you, good. Because Shawn Michaels' Royal Rumble memories aren't meant to be comfortable, they're meant to challenge everything you think you know about the match. Here's where the frustration really kicks in. Michaels has openly said that most people, including fans, commentators, and even wrestlers, misunderstand what the Royal Rumble is supposed to accomplish. It's not designed to crown the best wrestler. It's not even designed to reward momentum. It's designed to reveal character under pressure. That's why so many Rumble winners disappear a year later. And that's why Michaels never did. Think about it for a second and drop your answer below. How many Royal Rumble winners actually became bigger stars after their win? Not how many you like. How many truly elevated? Shawn Michaels learned early that the Rumble punishes selfishness. If you try to dominate every second, you gas out. If you try to steal the spotlight constantly, the audience turns. The match has a rhythm, and if you fight it, it exposes you. That's why Michaels often talks more about his eliminations than his wins. Because how you leave the Rumble matters just as much as how you enter it. In 2007, when he was eliminated by The Undertaker, Michaels didn't storm out angry or sell disbelief for the cameras. He sold finality, a moment that told the audience, that was everything I had, and fans felt it. Quick comment check: do eliminations matter more than wins? Yes or no? This is where Shawn Michaels' memories become almost unsettling, because he admits there were Rumbles where he knew he wasn't supposed to win, and those were sometimes harder than the ones he did. Why? Because when you're not winning, your job is to make someone else believable without making yourself irrelevant. That's a razor-thin line, and very few performers ever master it. Michaels did. He's talked about how during some Rumbles, he'd intentionally pace himself slower than his instincts told him to because the story demanded it. That kind of discipline doesn't get applause. It doesn't get chance. But it's the difference between a forgettable Rumble and a legendary one. And that's why it should annoy you when people reduce his Rumble legacy to 2 wins. 2 wins don't explain 21 years of relevance. Here's another uncomfortable truth. Some of the most iconic Royal Rumble moments exist because Shawn Michaels knew when to step aside. Let's talk about 2008. John Cena's surprise return, the roof-blowing pop. The internet's still arguing about it, but what most fans forget is how carefully that moment was protected. Michaels adjusted on the fly, so did others. The Rumble doesn't pause for surprises, you adapt or you vanish. Michaels has said that adaptability is the real skill test of the Rumble. You don't know who's coming out next. You don't know if plans change mid-match. You don't know if someone gets hurt. All you can do is react honestly, and honesty is dangerous in wrestling. Answer this honestly in the comments. Would today's wrestlers survive a 1990s-style Royal Rumble pace? Another thing Shawn Michaels remembers clearly and fans rarely think about is the silence. Between countdowns, between pops, between chaos. Those brief seconds where the crowd is deciding whether they care. He said those moments are louder than any reaction, because if you lose the audience there, you don't get them back. That's why he exaggerated movements. That's why he sold exhaustion. That's why he made near eliminations look desperate instead of flashy. He wasn't trying to look cool. He was trying to look human, and humanity is what makes the Rumble work. Now let's address the debate nobody ever finishes. Is Shawn Michaels the Royal Rumble GOAT? Fans usually throw out names like Stone Cold, Triple H, or even modern stars. And sure, those arguments have weight, but Michaels' case isn't built on dominance. It's built on longevity and versatility. He worked Rumbles as a tag specialist, as a mid-card risk-taker, as a main event cornerstone, as a veteran gatekeeper, and in every role he adapted. That's not nostalgia, that's evidence. Quick ranking challenge for the comments. Put these in order: Michaels, Austin, Undertaker. No explanations, just order. What really separates Michaels' memories from everyone else's is regret. He's admitted there were Rumbles where he was too focused on himself, where ego crept in, where he didn't listen enough. And those matches? Fans felt it, even if they couldn't explain why. The Royal Rumble doesn't forgive ego, it exposes it. And that's why Michaels' later Rumble performances feel calmer, more controlled, more purposeful. He'd already lost enough to know winning wasn't everything. One of his most revealing comments was this: "The Royal Rumble taught me when to fight and when to stop." That's not something you learn by winning trophies. That's something you learn by lasting long enough to see patterns. And maybe that's the biggest reason his Rumble legacy hits differently. Because most wrestlers chase moments. Shawn Michaels chased meaning. Final round of questions. Answer at least one in the comments. Is the Royal Rumble better now or worse than it used to be? Does the match still create stars, or just moments? Is Shawn Michaels' Rumble legacy underrated, overrated, or perfectly rated? Disagree, debate, get loud about it. Because the Royal Rumble isn't just a match, it's a mirror. And Shawn Michaels spent decades staring into it, learning things most people never will. And now that you've heard his side of it, you'll never watch another Royal Rumble the same way again.